Hi, welcome once again, Sports Talk Live Buffalo. Adam Benini, Vic Carucci, and everyone's favorite rink rat is back with us. Off the Sabre beat, Paul Hamilton.
I did not see you going there.
Listen, it's a term of endearment, and he knows it.
Yeah.
Digging deep into the holiday tie collection.
Yeah, I figured I'd do that. Instead of cartoon one, I did this one today.
Very, very festive.
Yeah, I did the
very
cartoon
fitting.
one last time.
And,
All right.
you know, we had to get Paul back because, you know, the Bills, they right their ship. The Sabre ship, I'm hearing a little Gordon Lightfoot song he might have to write.
So
about
the old
ship. What do you
Edmund
think?
Fitzgerald.
I'm just saying,
It's
it
listing.
feels like that. It feels like it's
listing, Paul. Okay, so we'll get
he'll
into the
have to
reasons
straighten that
why.
out for us.
Yeah, the next segment, we'll spend plenty of time on that. As always, good to have Paul off of the road, doing a great job of the Sabres broadcast back on the road this year. But our first order of business, Bills 31, Cowboys 10. An emphatic statement result from the Bills yesterday. Solomon Wilcots is going to join us, formerly of CBS, former NFL defensive back, obviously, CBS, NFL Network, now with SiriusXM NFL Radio. Strong takes on this team as they make their push for the playoffs. But first, Sean McDermott on his team this afternoon Zoom. They once again round into form during the stretch run of a season.
I feel like schedule-wise, we try and make sure that the guys have a schedule that's conducive for them playing their best down the stretch. You know, I think probably, you know, more than anything too, it's very dialed in this time of year. Not that they're not normally, but I think most teams this time of year are very dialed in, and then just fundamentally continuing to improve every week. I think that's, hey, you take a step. You know, this past week, next week we need to take another step, and just continuing to make that your goal every week is to improve. It's all a big, you know, a part of the overall plan, and you know, trying to be a two-dimensional offense, and the threat of that, I think is important, especially this time of year.
We'll have a lot to talk about on that front, but on the defense, some news on the injury front today. Jordan Phillips, who was among the defensive players that had himself quite a game yesterday, injured his wrist, had surgery last night. McDermott says he's going to be week to week. That again broke on the Zoom with Sean McDermott this afternoon. That's an injury that stands to have an impact on the rotation up front. But big picture here, I mean, when you look, you see where they are on the periphery still of the playoff picture, but I mean, who is better than them in the AFC right now?
And that's where I am with this, Adam. And I'm not trying to be a prisoner of the moment. Yes, that was an impressive, dominant performance against the Cowboys. But this is a bigger, wider lens that I'm looking at here. This is 4 games where this team has looked like the team that we thought they would be, that they thought they would be, and maybe even a notch or two above that because of what I see offensively, not just from a production standpoint, but from a philosophical standpoint. It seems like they've spread things out and more balance. And I like that. And I like more of what I've seen from them than I've seen from Kansas City, separate from what they did with the Bills, and even from the Baltimore Ravens. Yeah, they've got the best record, and they're already in the playoffs. But in terms of the AFC, top to bottom, I don't see a hotter team, a better team. And in the league, I'm going San Francisco as the best. And then if you're looking for a number 2 spot in there, I know, again, it sounds ridiculous for a team that has only 8 wins, but I'm going with the Bills.
Well, the way they, you know, we all know they've had the firepower, right? The injuries on defense have been a concern, and they're still going to play in as we look down the stretch and toward the playoffs, I think. But there's no one that really wants to play the Buffalo Bills right now. But let's get into the offense a little bit. And Paul Hamilton, you asked Sean McDermott about it today when they asked about Brady and the impact or whatever. He says, well, it's just more energy. He obviously doesn't want to get in to the X's and O's. But this offense has been at its best, not only this year, but in the past, when it's really had balance. And James Cook, clearly, as we take a look at his game yesterday, gave them that and more. Phenomenal job up front, the physicality of the offensive line, in the dynamic multi-purpose threat that he continues to develop into.
I saw the Kansas City game coming. I did not see this game coming from the fact that the Bills not only won, they blew them right out of the back of the stadium. The offensive line and the defensive line, they weren't just dominant. They absolutely blew the Dallas Cowboys off the line of scrimmage, play after play after play. And I can't remember the last time I saw both lines play like that. The offensive line, James Cook did a great job running the ball, but that offensive line, the way they dominated the line of scrimmage.
What have they done to open things up and get Cook? Because Brady's had something to do with
right.
this here.
And it is an awareness of your opponent. You don't scheme and say, this is the great things we do, and we'll just do it against everybody, because that really was the way Ken Dorsey approached it, that we've got this great talent and see if you can match up with it. No. With Joe Brady, and we'll use this Cowboy game specifically, this is a smaller, quicker, penetrating type of defense. Their forte is you throw on them, they're going to rush you. And they've got those great pass rushers, obviously, with Micah Parsons and company. The Bills said, okay, you know what? We're just going to run on you. We're going to overpower you. You have smaller, quick people. We are going to take our big offensive linemen and just beat you up. And that's, Paul was saying it. It's not just physically being able to do it, but strategy-wise, you are keying on the smaller people, smaller linebackers knocking them off.
It's a matchup league, and that's a perfect illustration of what that expression speaks to. And yeah, Ken Dorsey, I've used the term static in terms of his scheme. You see Brady evolve and adjust the scheme based on those matchups, and I think but really, I thought they'd have some success offensively yesterday. Defensively, I thought the injuries might catch up with them a little bit. I knew the weather was going to rain, but I felt like Paul could operate. But, I mean, defensively, what they were able to do in limiting a Dallas offense that had been above 40 points a game for the last 5 in their win streak.
Whatever Sean McDermott did, I think he disguised it well, because Prescott looked totally confused the whole game. He didn't know where the rush was coming from. He didn't know who was going to be open. He didn't have the time to get comfortable, whether it was in the pocket. He just seemed very, very confused at what Sean McDermott was throwing at him.
Yep. And what Sean was doing was a lot of stunting and movement up front, interior pressure. That is how you get a quarterback like Dak Prescott off the mark. Make him move, make him go lateral, and that's when the problems occur. And from a defensive back or secondary standpoint, they were aggressive. They weren't holding back and sitting back and saying, okay, this is what we'll do, is we just won't let these guys beat us deep. They were taking away routes in the second level.
No, the coverage complemented the rush and vice versa, and all of that. Complementary football, cliche, right? But you saw it play out.
It was
in a big way for the Buffalo Bills. And when Bill Polian was on this show, remember what he said about the great quarterbacks. I believe the quote was, you could send 2 F-16s off the edge. In terms of the edge rushers, the great quarterbacks don't care. No. It's the inside pressure. I mean, the Giants against Brady back in the day in those Super Bowls are a perfect example of that.
Jordan
and the Bills,
Phillips, Ed Oliver. I mean, you saw that's how important they were to that game yesterday.
That's how they got after and disrupted Prescott. They did it in other ways, but that was primarily what did it. That was kind of the building block for that. All right, so those are our takes. Solomon Wilcots, again, we mentioned his resume off the top, now working as a colleague with Vic at SiriusXM NFL Radio. His take on this Buffalo Bills team.
And they understood that it was time to really stick their flag in the ground. I think they needed to really prove that that they were back, despite all the losses, and they've suffered some losses due to injuries. But despite those, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, they needed to assert themselves against what was really one of the hottest offenses in the NFL. The Cowboys had come in averaging 40 points a game over a 5-game win streak, and they only scored 10. So I think that made a statement. I think the Bills showed they can dominate on both the offense and defensive line, because that's exactly what they did by putting pressure and wrecking the protection for Dak Prescott. But to go in and rush for 266 yards and show that you can play a different style when the weather gets bad. You don't have to put it all on Josh Allen, and that you can roll your sleeves up and go toe-to-toe with one of the strongest fronts in the game. I thought it was a statement of just physicality, particularly in the way that the Bills were able to run the football.
But it just seemed like Sean McDermott, with his play calling, was always a step ahead of Mike McCarthy.
I just thought the pass rush, whether you were blitzing the run game or the passing game, they were getting penetration. They were wrecking the Cowboys' blocking scheme. And after that, Dak Prescott was running for his life all night. And that's what you want. That's how you knock. It's about knocking an offense that's really good and clicking, getting them off of their rhythm. And that's what Sean McDermott and the defense was able to do.
As you look at them, and look at the bigger picture of the AFC. How do you see it all for Buffalo? Because it feels like if they're not into the postseason, given the way they're playing now, it would be just a huge absence.
They're in the postseason, right? They're in the playoffs now. The playoffs have begun for the Buffalo Bills. Just write it down. For every single Bills fan, your team, you're in the playoffs right now. It's single game elimination. If you lose, you go home. However, I would tell you this. Nobody wants to see the Bills, not the team we saw play the Dallas Cowboys, not the team that we've seen as of late. They are, I think, with Joe Brady now calling the plays, it's about personality too when it comes to offense. I think his personality is a better fit, like Brian Daboll's was, more daring, more bold, not this sort of passive, asking for permission type of offense, but one that's going to go out and take what we want. That's why they're a different team now. And I think if you look across the landscape of the NFL, the rest of the NFL has been put on notice. They will be the most dangerous team, Vic, in the playoffs. And in fact, I think they're one of the most dangerous teams playing right now.
All right, well, we've seen it before. Our thanks to Solomon Wilcots there, and yesterday to the extreme. You give Josh Allen the balance of a more traditional running game and a dual threat like James Cook, not to mention how well the defense played. Like we talked about, the Bills are an extremely difficult team for anyone in the National Football League to beat at this point. When we come back, the Sabres will continue with their inconsistent season, but could some help be on the way in form of that guy you see right there? Paul's takes on that in the latest update, but first.
Key to the Game, sponsored by Trocare College.
Got to go with James Cook here, right? And the numbers more than back that up. 179 yards rushing. That's second most in 221 yards from scrimmage. That's third most of any player across the league this season. The former second-round pick really starting to come into his own. We're back after this here on Sports Talk Live.
I got goosebumps. That was special.
Unbelievable.
Nailed it.
You are destined for stardom.
The Voice, live tonight on NBC and Peacock. Password is back.
Toys.
Elves?
Join Jimmy Fallon, Keke Palmer, Meghan Trainor, and John Cryer.
Pumped. Hot.
Coco? It's a Christmas miracle.
Holiday Password, tonight on NBC and Peacock.
You work hard and safely on the job site. Unfortunately, accidents can still happen.
Injured in a construction accident? Call Celino. We get you paid.
Construction accident? Call Celino.
How you doing?
What are you having?
2 Bud Lights, please. Actually, make it a round for the bar.
Round for the bar!
Here we go.
Emmitt Smith? Touchdown!
If you want a career and not just a job, join the team that powers Western New York. IBEW Local 41 is now accepting applications. As the largest organization of electrical workers in North America, IBEW offers a lucrative and fulfilling career with competitive pay, benefits, and opportunities to grow, offering apprenticeships that prepare you with the knowledge and skills you'll need for a successful career so you can earn while you learn. Learn more at IBEWLocal41.com.
New York Rec and Social Club, the perfect hangout spot. Grab a signature cocktail, ice cold beer, or enjoy our epic eats. with our diverse selection of games, including sports betting, blackjack, and more. Gather your friends and bring your game face. Play, drink, bet. New York Rec and Social Club, now open, only at Turning Stone Resort Casino.
Look at that. It's a car crash. Oh my God. This is a car crash. Call Celino.
You wouldn't have made it anyways.
Now back to Sports Talk Live Buffalo, sponsored by Celino Law. The Light It Up moment of the game, sponsored by Bud Light.
All right, on a day where Josh Allen threw the ball just 15 times and Stephon Diggs caught just 4 of them, that was a big one, right? 3rd and 9, fourth quarter. The one-handed grab, lighting up the passing game with a first down en route to the James Cook touchdown run, part of a dominating 31-10 win over the Dallas Cowboys. And so now it's back to LA SoFi Stadium for the 2nd straight year. Saturday night, a matchup with the Chargers. Weather really isn't a factor with the canopy out there, except when it comes to the heat. Last year for the opener against the Rams, it was 105 degrees, and trust me, it felt all of that on the field in the pregame. That was September, of course. It's a different story in December. Patrick Hammer says temps in the 60s, conditions pretty much perfect for the offense to operate at a high level. We're going to have that game for you Saturday night right here on Channel 2. Over the air, it's streaming on Peacock, but it's over the air here on Channel 2. What did you say?
Can I be your reporter? I want to go see that stadium. So I want to be a reporter for the game.
Jonathan Acosta is going to be out there. It's Vic and I will have the post-game coverage here, but I'll tell you this. I mean, Vic and I were getting ready to do, we did Sports Talk Live before the Rams opener last year, and between hits, so there were some fans in those dugout suites that were really, because it was so hot, I was like, right through my sports jacket. I'm like running to get like napkins and paper towels to wipe down and then go out and.
Kind of like the Stanley Cup Finals in Dallas.
Right, it kind of, when you'd go outside, you remember that was?
When you guys
were
crazy stand-ups.
Yeah.
Remember that.
All right, speaking of hockey, let's shift gears to the Sabres. And Paul, Sabres back off the 3-game Western trip, 1-2. When it didn't have to be that way.
Yeah, it's a shame because, the Colorado game, sure, that was going to be a loss with the way they played. But they played very well in the next 2 games. The Arizona game, they didn't start off well. It was maybe a few minutes. But Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen was great in that game and made some great saves to hold them into it. And they only gave up 2 goals. To me, they wasted a great performance. We'll see him coming up here in a second. I mean, an impressive win over Vegas, right? And then it's back to that the kind of the inconsistent Jekyll and Hyde nature of this team is frustrating for so many. But they played well. But they let a backup goalie who doesn't have good numbers shut them out.
Here's the play. It doesn't reflect the game that Luukkonen had.
No. This is just a mistake behind the net. This isn't the way he played goal. He made some great saves playing goal. He was back to being the way he was playing earlier in the year in that game. And if you only give up 2 goals in a game, you should win the hockey game.
Absolutely.
Especially if you play well. And they did play well. But they were shooting wide, they were shooting high, they were centering up on the goaltender. But they had plenty of chances to score goals in that game, and they couldn't.
All right, to what extent, though, and you're saying they played well, but to what extent, because I've also heard this analysis from those close to the team, that, is there a harder look that needs to be made overall, that perhaps from the top, from the GM down, that they have to do some things to shake things up personnel-wise, or is the possible return? I know you're going to talk about Jack Quinn, but does that?
We've seen it before under Darcy Regier, where management, kind of falls in love with a group of players,
right? Yeah.
Right? Almost, well, not almost, to their detriment, right? Are we approaching that?
I thought I felt that the way the team was built was flawed from the fact that they didn't have a line that was hard to play against. I think having Eric Robinson helped address that partially. He's a fast guy. He gets in on the forecheck. He's big. And you have Greenway. So to me, you're 2/3 of the way there to having that type of a line. And I think it's very important to have that moving forward. If you just have 9 guys with huge talent, that's great. I think your top 6 needs to be very good talent. They've drafted good talent, I think, but I think you need that line who not only is hard to play against, but can contribute. Eric Robinson last year, 12 goals and 12 assists. I'm fine with that out of a bottom 6 forward if that's the kind of production you get out of him using his size and the way he forechecks. So I think that was a positive what did you have to lose? It's a 7th-round pick. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Right.
So I think that was a good move, but I think they need another guy where they can put a complete line like that together and have them where the other team says to themselves, ugh, I don't want to play against those guys tonight.
On a dump and chase, you don't want to go into the corner and face that forecheck. All right, let's talk about today's news. And when Vic and I were at training camp this summer, we had a brief conversation with Terry Pegula, and the subject quickly changed from the Bills to the Sabres. And the first thing Pegula said was that Jack Quinn injury is going to hurt us. There's a chance, Achilles we're talking about here, there's a chance Quinn is back tomorrow night against Columbus, right?
Yeah, he's been doing very well. He filled in for Tuck, who didn't practice today for a maintenance day. Tuck, Granato thought probably will play tomorrow, but they're going to see in the pregame morning skate. But he said if Quinn doesn't come back tomorrow, probably be Thursday, and it sounds like he's ready to go tomorrow. And what Granato talked about, he is such a smart player.
Right.
And he, of course, has skill and everything. But I want to caution people, this is an Achilles injury.
Right.
What
version of Jack Quinn are you going to get?
Exactly the Jack Quinn you saw finish up last year. So I don't want people to put too much pressure on thinking, well, he's really regressed or whatever. You may not see the Jack Quinn of last year until next year. But still, you want him back in your lineup.
Unless he talks to Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I'm just saying. You know, if the Mr.
But I still think he's going to help. Definitely.
Right, that was just going to say, I mean, you see the skill in the loop of these highlights that we're showing right here. How much of a spark can a guy like this light
coming back? He is an elite shot.
Right.
I mean, that you're seeing in these highlights too. He's phenomenal when it comes to the shootout. They don't get into too many shootouts. Other teams do, but
Adam mentioned when we were talking to Terry Pegula, as I say, at camp, and his face, right? I mean, he was like down. This whole idea of Quinn's injury just soured his. It was a beautiful sunny day in Pittsburgh, and he's talking about Quinn like, you know, it was really, right, preying on him big time.
No, it was like the first thing he mentioned.
Yeah.
Well, Paterka has a chance maybe to get to 30 goals this year, but Quinn was, before the injury, he was the one I was thinking of that could wind up at 30 goals. That's the type of scorer he can be with that elite shot that he has.
All right, well, let's hope he gets back on track and healthy and regains his form as quickly as possible. Sabres at home against Columbus, 7 o'clock face-off, KeyBank Center tomorrow night. Paul, of course, will be on the call and the pregame and intermission with WGR Sports Radio 550 and the Sabres radio network. When we come back, the Bills headed west. They're going to take on the Chargers on Saturday night, a preview and the picks. But first,
Take It to the Bank, sponsored by M&T Bank.
we will go with Josh Allen here. A name again in the record books. The 10th game this season, he's had both a passing and rushing touchdown. Bills PR with this, that's an NFL record. We're back after this here on Sports Talk Live.
Those in the know? Go Lenco.
Anderson's 400 series windows and doors offer the perfect blend of performance and style. Shop in store or online at lencosupplies.net.
You're seeking a fulfilling job, a career of achievement, a life of purpose, so that you can have the future you really want. Here you'll find the education and support you need, a way to transform yourself and change your community for the better. Trocare College. Make your opportunity.
Hi, I'm John Santora from the Santora Real Estate team. I'm here to let you know we are not like everyone else. Our team of luxury real estate specialists have made it clear, details matter. Visit us today at santorarealestate.com.
If this box could talk, it would tell you of the happiness it brings every time it's opened. It would tell you of the excitement it's seen when found under the tree. If this box could talk, it would tell you of the care that Reed's Gents takes in crafting and curating its contents. and how honored it would be to be part of your holiday celebrations. If this box could talk, it would wish you the most joyous holiday yet from all of us at Reed's Gents.
Injured by a semi? The check the insurance company offers might seem okay at first, but it really isn't enough, right, Tim?
Nope, that looks pretty small, especially when you consider all the bills you gotta pay. Imagine if you weren't working.
So call Celino, because when you're hurt by a big truck,
you deserve a big check. Celino Law, we get you paid.
Truck crash? Call Celino.
Now back to Sports Talk Live Buffalo, sponsored by Celino Law. This is your Reimer Home Services Hot Take.
All right, well, Sean McDermott of the Bills continue to be hot when the weather cools down and the games matter even more. Coming off the win over the Cowboys, now 16-2 in the months of December and January since 2020, and they're on the road to face the Chargers Saturday night. Ross Celino starts us off with the picks.
The Bills are looking like one of the hottest teams in football as they head down towards the playoff stretch. But we got to keep the pedal to the metal against the Chargers as we take them on this Christmas week. As Josh Allen says, let's let James keep on cooking. Buffalo 35, LA 10.
All right, Ross, thank you very much. Considering this past Thursday, look at the Raiders hung 63 points on the Chargers. That's a franchise record for them. They've fired their coach and GM. Quarterback Justin Herbert is done for the year. They're 5-9. The Bills are 11-point favorites in this game. Yeah, you have to throw those highlights.
And I hope they move as fast as those guys do.
Speed. 30 seconds left, V.
All right, I'm going to say 34-10, so I'm agreeing with Ross once again on one side of the score. I had even a bigger score in mind, but I toned it down a bit because it's a day short to prepare. And that Jordan Phillips injury bugged me a little bit.
All right, I'm going to say Buffalo 42-13.
Okay.
I think they'll. In any case, the game Saturday night right here on Channel 2, live post-game coverage.